This is David Finzer broadcasting for the next 2 hours from the Gibraltar of the Balkans, the historic city of Novi Sad, along the banks of the beautiful Danube River here in Serbia. You can join our conversation by calling toll-free in the U.S. and Canada at 1-855-655-2121 or by Skype at ORN Live, or for the terminally timid, you can email me at david@truthandliesradio.com, or you can even post a message on Truth and Lies Radio Show's Facebook page. Remember, the Overseas Radio Network archives are available on overseasradio.com's website 24/7, so you can listen to all your favorite shows when you want to. According to the big clock on truthandliesradio.com's FATCA, Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act page, your worldwide financial privacy, if you're an American citizen or resident, will expire in 203 days. 13 hours, 50 minutes, and 8 seconds. After that, you'll be required to tell the government everything about everything. They have to know where it is for them to take it away from you. Well, over the weekend, the internet was really heating up on the debate on Rand Paul. Is he a Judas or a genius? And there are arguments to support both sides. A lot of Ron Paul supporters think his son sold him out by supporting Mitt Romney. A lot of people called him a Judas when he offered his support for Mitt Romney. Was his endorsement really a sellout, or was it a tactical master stroke for the libertarian agenda? Well, it depends. The reaction itself was really just a lot of hot air, a lot of outrage of folk fans. Sellout, they cried, he's giving in, etc. But I'm not sure that supporting the Republican nominee, if you're a Republican senator, is necessarily a devaluation of principles. Ronald Reagan, who didn't sell out when he was president, endorsed Gerald Ford after Gerald Ford won the nomination. Endorsements are just talk. Talk's cheap. And we don't have to worry, thus far at least. Rand Paul is still walking the walk, not just talking the talk. He's still against foreign aid. He still wants to audit the Federal Reserve. He proposed a budget which balances in 5 years. He's actually one of the Tea Party insurgents who is really very respectable, photogenic, etc. And in today's world, that counts. He may be willing to haggle, but Rand Paul really still is no moderate. If he was wrong about anything, or if it was tacky about anything, as we might say in the South, it was his timing. To give Romney his backing just one day after his father's campaign announced their shortfall of delegates must have really hurt emotionally for those who worked so hard in defeating Romney and who suffered so much because of the machinations of the Republican establishment. But by sending a message that he's a team player to the bigwigs of the Republican Party, Rand might succeed in doing something that Ron never managed to do, which is to build coalitions. Speculation of a VP slot aside, which I think would be a huge mistake, because vice president in most cases, like I said, one vice president referred to it as about as important as a warm bucket of spit. It could mean at least he's given a headline slot at the convention in Miami. Remember, that similar slot was what launched Mr. Obama back in the 2004 when the idiot John Kerry was the Democratic nominee for president. He was did such a good job at the convention, he ended up getting the presidential nomination. Now, we've got to watch Rand Paul, because he may be getting Washington fever. Potomac fever. If he becomes a sellout, if he changes his voting record, goes away from his libertarian values, then we need to, go after him. Then we have to understand that he has sold out for 30 pieces of silver or whatever. But perhaps he is just being prudent. One Paulite pointed out that it's better to be 90% right and in office is more use to the cause of liberty than to be 100% right and sit on the sidelines. I'm not convinced that the Libertarians can ever really be a political party because they refuse to ever be pragmatic. They always violate the cardinal principle of making the perfect the enemy of the good. So they talk about selling the highways. They talk about legalizing all drugs, which I happen to be in favor of. But it's not something I'd certainly run on if I were running for office. It's different being a radio commentator and running for office. And so you see the Libertarians being purists to the point that they will not take part of a loaf unless they can get all of one, which is why they usually get none of it. The Goldwater movement in 1960 was seen as young and radical and outside the mainstream. The religious right was seen as a big mouth, pushy minority. But those minorities grew and eventually dominated the Republican Party and the libertarian, at least under Ronald Reagan, and the libertarian energy of the Ron Paul movement has the same capacity to infiltrate and shape the future of the Republican Party because they have a unique situation never before had. The United States is bankrupt. The world is going to hell in a handbasket, and Keynesian socialist economics are falling apart right and left. So the Libertarians do have a chance now to make a difference, but they have to be smart. Now, I don't like Romney. In fact, I'd like to see Obama get a second term because then as things go to hell, he'll get blamed for them. And perhaps Senator Rand Paul, if he stays Libertarian, would be in a perfect position to run for president in 2016, and that's something we'll examine when we come back after the break. But now we do have a break. We have to pay some bills. We'll be right back. Don't go away. You're stuck with me for a while longer. This is David Finzer for Truth and Lies Radio, broadcasting on the Overseas Radio Network. This is David Finzer for Truth and Lies Radio on the Overseas Radio Network. Yes, in case I shocked you, when we left, I said I would like to see Obama get a second term because the economy is going to go to hell. There's still a war with Iran possibly thrown in. There's still Iraq. There's still Afghanistan. Romney's not going to do one damn bit better than Obama is doing. He might be good on some tax issues, that's all. And mostly it's going to be tax breaks for his corporate cronies, more corporate welfare. And the economy is going to continue to go under. I mean, we're looking here in Europe at the European project, as they call it, sinking faster than the Titanic did after it hit the iceberg. So I would rather see a disastrous Obama presidency because, frankly, were it not for the disastrous Jimmy Carter presidency, we might not have gotten Ronald Reagan. And I always have believed in voting against a moderate, centrist, whatever establishment Republican. I'd rather see a left-wing Democrat in that we can throw out, someone who is pro-big government, clearly, than someone who is wishy-washy on the issues. Now, the RNC still has a problem, and it deserves it, because they have been absolutely rotten, which just proves that they're exactly the same as they were when I was in Washington. I remember one time, one of the people I knew, there was a fire on top of the RNC building. and he called in the fire department. And I said he probably did more to hurt the American Republic than anyone else that year by saving the Republican National Committee from burning down, because they are filled with politicians, not people who believe in anything, just politicians who want power. And they want Romney. They would support the devil if they thought he would run on the Republican ticket and get elected. But the RNC is bracing itself because they still have to deal with Ron Paul supporters who want to reshape the policies of the party. There's a 3-day festival directly preceding the convention in honor of Paul that had to be put on hold last week because of the RNC, because they have first rights on all the free space in Tampa for the week of the convention, including the fairgrounds, which is away from where the convention is going to be. The convention, they have more than enough room, but the RNC has it blocked so the Paulistas can't celebrate there. If the RNC continues to block the event, there's a possibility they're going to have 20,000 super pissed off Paul supporters who are expecting to attend spread throughout Tampa, and a swarm of really, really angry delegates attending the convention. It could mean serious bad press surrounding what the RNC wants to be a Romney love fest, culminating in his coronation as the Republican Party leadership. Now, if you don't believe that the Republican Party leadership is bad, you only have to look at what's going on in the House of Representatives now. John Boehner, the Speaker of the House, the head of the Republican Party, has put on hold the fast and furious investigation, and he's halted contempt proceedings against Attorney General Eric Holder because he figures that the American public will forget about it. They'll let Issa fail, and it'll be a story on the web for a day or two, and they can get past it. And the problem is that Boehner is part of the political establishment there. And they are afraid that if they hold Holder in contempt, and I certainly hold him in contempt, of course I hold Obama in contempt as well, that they will play the race card against him. Well, the Democrats are already playing the race card. They're going to continue to play the race card. That's all they know how to do, is play the damned race card. So what he's done is he has sold out to the other party. And the real problem is that the Speaker of the House and the Republican leaders fear the wrong people. They fear Barack Hussein Obama instead of the wrath of their own electorate, because this may be one too many betrayals, one too many accommodations and compromises with the Obama regime. You know, the problem is the Republican leaders really believe that we'll all forget their betrayals and, like good little boys and girls, march into the voting booth in November and vote R and reward them in spite of their cowardice. Well, first of all, we should not do that. We should always punish. I mean, the Democratic Party's lost. It used to be good when there were conservative and libertarian Democrats, especially in the South and the West. You could vote for them. They don't exist anymore. So we're stuck with the Republican Party or a third party. But what we have to do is we have to remember it's better to lose an election and punish someone who's betrayed the principles in which we believe than it is to say, well, that's the lesser of two evils. Because as someone once pointed out, the lesser of two evils is still evil. That's what the Germans did in the 30s when they voted for Hitler against the communists, and look what they got. Now, let's look at this Mr. Holder that the Speaker of the House is now playing patsy with. Florida versus the Department of Justice. There are reportedly as many as 180,000 non-citizens and another 50,000 dead people on my home state's voter rolls. Recently, the state of Florida, as I reported under Secretary of State Rick Scott's direction, took steps to ensure the integrity of the voter rolls by eliminating non-citizens who are registered to vote from illegally voting in our elections. But the federal government has not only refused to cooperate, but Justice Department has taken steps to block the state of Florida, the sovereign state of Florida, from taking steps to ensure fair and legal elections. They are trying to prevent the Secretary of State from carrying out his constitutional duty under Florida's Constitution as the chief elections officer. The Justice Department has told the governor and the Secretary of State to stop Florida from cleaning illegals and dead people from the voter rolls. As a result of the Justice Department's pushback and pressure from progressiveflorida.org, a left-wing organization, MoveOn.org, all 67 county supervisors of elections have suspended purging voters from their rolls. So they want dead people to vote. They want illegal aliens to vote, and they're playing the race card to get it, and that is despicable, and the election supervisors are violating their oath as well. Now, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we have to break for the news and a word from our sponsors. I'll be right back. Don't go away. This is David Finzer for Truth and Lies Radio on the Overseas Radio Network. We'll be right back.